I haven't done a long form video on this unit yet, but I'm finally going to get to it. So this is the 8000 BTU Midea window heat pump with an inverter compressor. This is a window air conditioner unlike any other. This unit has a heating and cooling function along with a dehumidification function, but all that is running in cool mode with low fan, so it has a cooler indoor coil and it is dragging that air across that coil a little bit slower so it can get that moisture out of it before it exits the coil and goes back into the room. But right here you will notice that right there, those little vents in that box, that's not something you will usually find in a unit. That is your inverter board. This right here, it is basically the brain and powerhouse of the entire unit. This unit has dual DC fan motors and a inverter compressor or a variable speed compressor, which means the compressor's right here. It's not this, it's that back there. This is the accumulator. But kind of see it back there. Okay, that's a little better, but anyway, it's gonna get a little bit loud because the central air conditioner just kicked on. But that compressor right there, unlike normal air conditioning compressors that only pump at one speed and then shut off once the temperature is met inside, this compressor can actually pump refrigerants at variable speeds. So once the temperature is met inside, it actually slows down and it meets the heat infiltration rate into the room, or that varies on whether it's in cooling or heat mode, but basically it matches the thermal exchange rate between the outside and the inside. So right now it's not that warm outside. There's clouds covering the sun, so this compressor or the whole unit really isn't putting in a whole lot of effort to keep my room at 66 degrees. It's about in the middle right now. I can tell this fan is in medium speed, and this isn't loud and it's not quiet. You can hear it. There you can tell a difference, but anyway, right now it's just working at a speed that's in the middle of idle and running at max speed. It's somewhere in the middle, and what that does is it keeps the unit running for longer instead of going off, and it dehumidifies so much better. My room is only 190 square feet, 185, 190 square feet, give or take. This unit is rated for 350 square feet. If this was a normal unit with a rotary compressor, you have two modes with that, off or 100%. What that does is it will cool the room way too fast and it will not run long enough to take the humidity out, so you will get kind of like a damp, cool room. You have high humidity, you have a bigger chance for mold. It's not comfortable, it's not clean, and it will make your room smell extremely musty. I've experienced that by oversizing my window unit. If this wasn't an inverter, I promise you I would have not have got as big of a unit as this is. This is the smallest size this comes in. They have 8,000 and 12,000, but this unit is phenomenal. I love it. It dehumidifies excellently. Other than it being loaded up with electronics, I don't have a problem with it. But also, I don't know if I mentioned this with the inverter board, but this actually takes AC, alternating current, which is what your average house appliance runs on, central air conditioning, fans, well, most fans, washers, stoves, dishwashers, that runs on alternating current. That is what the average house appliance runs on. This runs on DC. It takes AC power from my house outlet, runs it into this board, converts it into DC, and distributes it along the parts. So it's more efficient. It makes the motors a lot more quiet for some reason. I've just well, I don't know this for a fact, but it has been known for AC motors to whine or hum. DC motors, they don't do that. You have a very slight high-pitched sound, kind of like what the compressor is making now. But I want to talk about this heating feature. Most window units, they have what is called auxiliary heat or electric strip heat. Basically, there is a piece of metal, you run electricity through it, it gets hot, and a fan blows cold air on it and warms the air and blows it back into the room, and it heats the room like that. This unit uses a little valve back there. You will see these coiling tubes, those are capillary tubes, but behind it, you can kind of see it. Try to do this. Okay, that right there is the side of the reversing valve. The reversing valve, it is taking hot gas out here. It is pumping it through this condenser. It condenses it and cools it and sends it back inside. The temperature drops, the pressure drops. If you want to know how that works, make an air pocket between your tongue and the roof of your mouth. Now squeeze it, you will feel it getting warm, and then keep that air bubble between your tongue and your roof of your mouth and kind of decompress it, and you will feel it get a little bit cooler. That is the same concept, except this isn't compressing air, it's compressing refrigerant, so it's going to get a lot colder, not only because it's made for that, but because this is holding about 520 psi. Not right now, because it's not really moving a bunch of heat right now. It's more like I don't know, you want to call it 400 psi. I don't know. This thing doesn't have a way to monitor pressure or anything like that. I'm just going off of what the label tells me. But that's a quick rundown of that. Hopefully that air pocket between your tongue and the roof of your mouth shows you how that works. But in heat mode, all it does is it reverses that, and instead of sending that hot gas coming out the compressor outside and being cooled, it sends it inside. The cool air from the room gets sucked in, it absorbs that cold air and rejects heat back into the room, and the fan blows it and circulates it throughout the room. A lot of people don't think this is going to work effectively because it is going to be colder outside, 30, 40 degrees, 20 degrees outside, and it's not going to be able to absorb heat from the outside air. Let me tell you this, as long as this outdoor coil is colder than the outdoor temperature, it is going to absorb heat. I'm going to give you a very good example. It is the exact same way your freezer keeps negative temperatures. Exact same way. Not all of them have temperatures that stay in the negatives, but you get it. That's how your refrigerator continues to take heat out of itself, even though it's cold and making ice in the freezer. It will still manage to take out heat. That's the power of a heat pump. This thing just ramped down, so that means it is getting cool inside. There's not a lot of heat being pushed into the room, so what it did is it slowed down. It's not taking out as much heat, so it's not going to freeze me, and it's just kind of keeping it at a certain temperature. If it was a normal unit, it would have shut off by now, but I like this a lot better. But this is nothing but a mini split in the window. I'm gonna keep it like that. A mini split in the window. You have the heat feature, you have the inverter compressor, you have 2 fan motors, and also this one doesn't have a normal fan, obviously. It's got its own fan motor, and what it does, or what it has, is a horizontal squirrel cage fan. It's a long squirrel cage fan that goes all the way across. I'll show you it in a minute. It's real cool, it's real quiet, and it moves a lot of air without making a lot of sound. I love that. Alright, here we are on the inside. You have your display. I'll go over that in a second, but first of all, I want to go over that blower wheel. I'm going to grab a flashlight because the one on my phone sucks, so you can see all the way across it. You see it? All the way across. Yes, it's dusty. It's an air conditioner. It's sucking in your air all the time and circulating it. It's gonna get dusty at some point. But this unit is running. It has a little swing feature. You can kind of see it moving up and down. That is not a gimmick, by the way. It really does help to break up the air coming out. My room is small enough to where if the air is coming out straight, even though these are pointed different ways, you can feel it circulating back around the room, and it will freeze you. Especially if it's on a higher fan speed and it's pointing straight, you're going to feel that wind coming onto you a lot more, and it makes you colder, and the room hadn't even cooled down yet. I do not like that. So what I do is this kind of helps to break it up. It's more of a gentler breeze going through the room, because the way this window is positioned in my room, it's weird. So it really sucks for airflow, but it does its best. As far as the filter goes, filter is different from a normal window unit. You can see it curves down like a mini split. Like I said, this is nothing but a mini split in a window. It has a filter exactly like a mini split, and it has the coil slanted exactly like a mini split. I love that. I've always wanted that in a window unit. Filter does catch a good bit of stuff. However, you see there is a little gap down there. I want to say it's about, I don't know, what y'all say, quarter of an inch, if that. It's not very big. Whoops. However, I will go ahead and point this out. This is not the best design. This is nasty. It's very nasty. All that down there. Now before anybody, hold on. There, that's a little better. Before anybody comes at me about this, it's an air conditioner. It pulls in air. Your air has dirt and dust in it, because guess what? You're human and you don't live in some type of super filtered type of house from the future with no pollutants or anything. We don't run thick filters, because thick filters aren't really good for the AC system. It restricts it. It puts a lot of negative pressure on the return duct, puts a lot of wear and tear on the blower. I've seen people blow up or burn up blowers like that. Thick filters aren't good, so we run little MERV 4 filters. They do the job. I promise you, they're not bad at all. Quit running MERV 11 filters in your air conditioners, people. It's ridiculous. You don't need them. Use hyperallergenic filters. They're thicker. They have more surface area, so they're still thick, but they have more area for that air to go through it. They're not as restrictive. Anyway, let's go through this control panel. LEDs. Okay, there we go. You have power, eco. I use eco. It cycles the blower off 3 minutes after the compressor shuts off, and every 10 minutes it turns the blower on for 2 minutes and pulls air through here, if in case you're using the sensor in here. However, you can use the remote like me. All you do, you press, hold on, let it focus. You press set twice, and then these icons will pop up. There's like a little, hold on. Anyway, you'll see a little person pop up here in a Wi-Fi symbol. Scroll over using these, or sorry, use this. I forget which one it is. Just figure it out. But basically what you'll do is you'll scroll over till that little person starts blinking, press OK, and make sure that remote is pointing to the unit, so it will give it an accurate reading every 3 minutes. I like to use a remote because the sensor in here reads a couple degrees below what the remote does, and my remote is closer to what my central air conditioning thermostat reads, so I go off the thermostat. However, I will say this: if the power cycles, it will lose connection and it will start using the sensor. If you are using auto, that is dangerous because it will go into heating. All that moisture will evaporate off the coil. It makes it hot, humid, and it gives the room a musty smell. I've experienced that. I woke up one day and it was 74 degrees. It was humid in my room, smelled like sour laundry. I'm gonna keep it real, so be careful with that. If you're worried about that, just go to cool mode, and if it detects the temperature's too low, instead of going into heating, it will just shut off until the temperature gets, I think it's 2 or 4 degrees above set point, and it'll come back on. Anyway, you hold that down to clear the filter light. Every 250 hours of runtime, it will notify you to clean your filter. I have mine connected to Wi-Fi, as you can see here, so once my filter needs cleaning, I don't need to look here. I'll get on my phone and I'll see, hey, my filter needs changing, because I keep my LEDs off. I don't need them. So my phone will tell me when it needs to be changed. This communicates with my phone and the remote. So if I'm somewhere or it detects I've left home, it turns up the temperature. If it detects I'm coming home, it turns back down the temperature. When I'm not here, I don't use heat. I don't use cool. I put it on dehumidify. So, it's not sitting there trying to keep the room cool, but it's not going to run as hard, and it's going to keep the room dry enough, and it's not going to let the room get musty. Compressor starting to ramp back up. That sounds nice. I love it when this thing ramps up. It sounds so good. But there's that little overview of how everything communicates. Fan, you have auto, low, medium, high. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, put it on auto. Low, medium, and high is very, very limited compared to what you can let this unit do. On the remote and on the control panel, you have auto, low, medium, high. Well, if you put it on auto, or you look at your phone, it has the power to take this fan from 1% capacity to 100% capacity and everything in between. You can have it at a precise speed. It is variable speed, not 3-speed. So that is a huge advantage. And when this thing speeds up, there's not a relay click at all like a normal air conditioner has. You will just hear it slowly ramping up. It'll bring the compressor up, and after a few minutes, that condenser will get warm. It will detect it, and it will speed the outdoor fan up and push more air through it so it's not as warm. This unit keeps itself in check so well. There's always cold air coming through, ice cold air coming through here, and there is always moisture being pulled out no matter what speed it's running on, no matter the temperature it is on. This unit is extremely precise. It is advertised to maintain within the degree, and I will tell you, it does exactly that. If I go into my phone, at most it will get 2 degrees out of spec. I don't mind that. My older units, or normal window units, they do the exact same thing, except this one doesn't shut off. So it doesn't get as humid, and it actually maintains what I like to feel in my room a lot better than a normal window unit. This unit is extremely perfect. Midea is as Chinese as it gets, but they make the best window units. Hands down. You can't prove me wrong. Modes, you have heat, auto, cool, dry, and fan. Yes, I do use fan. I use fan when I'm gone, so it is steadily taking air through here. I don't use the remote all the time, but it tells me what the temperature is when I'm not here. So I'll look on my phone and I'll see what the temperature is. And once it gets about the 72, I'll turn it back on, dehumidify at 68 degrees. It'll hold that, and then once it sees that I'm coming home, it switches it to auto, goes to 66. It ramps all the way up. It cools down to 66. It ramps down, then it goes up to 67, and it finds its little sweet spot, and it stays there till the sun goes down, the lights go off, and the cooking is done. Then it'll go all the way down, and it'll idle smooth through the night, and it'll sit at 65. It is the best thing. It is quiet. It's efficient. It keeps the room cool. It keeps it dry. I have no issues with that. A lot of people were reporting that this one had a very humid heat. That's not true. The problem is they were letting it cool. They let their room cool down. Then they switched it to heat to see how the heat was, and all that moisture on the coil that formed while they were running it in cool mode, it evaporated it and it threw it back into the room. If this unit was running normally, it is going to shut off for a while. The temperature is going to drop. Then that heat is going to kick on, and it's going to blow that nice, dry, warm air that you're used to. I learned that from experience. Trust me. Dry, I've already explained that. Fan only, that's self-explanatory. But then you have timer. I don't use timer. I have mine hooked up to Wi-Fi. Mine is set on a schedule. I don't have anything on a timer. It knows what to do. And if something interferes, like I come home early or I leave home unexpectedly over the weekend, it detects that, it adapts, and I've never had problems with it. Unless power goes out or Wi-Fi goes out, then it kind of acts funny. But other than that, it's fine. This unit really doesn't rely on the other Wi-Fi. It's kind of like a hotspot and your phone detects it. But here you have swing. This is the louver going up and down. I have it on. And then you've got the little Wi-Fi light. I have that, obviously. App works good. I have no complaints with that. But yeah, this unit is amazing. I'll post a startup at the end of this video. I'll post some specs over there. Actually, I'll go ahead and go over that right now. Break it down for those of you that really don't know what's going on. Alright, get down here. Okay, let's talk about this. 115 volts, that is standard home electricity coming to your outlets. 115, 120, 110. 60 hertz, that's normal frequency for your air conditioner. Cooling, 8,000 BTUs, that means usually 350 square feet, but depending on if your insulation as well, if you have double pane windows, how much heat is leaving and coming into the room. It all depends, but 8,000 BTUs, that's around 350 square feet. 7,000 BTUs, go ahead, 275 square feet, I'd like to say. CER, C-E-E-R, that is, geez, what is that? Hang on, let me think. I had it the other day. I was explaining it to somebody else. I don't know. I'm used to E-E-R, which is ear. Weird way to say that, but I think it's energy efficient. I don't know. It's got to do with the efficiency rating, but I can tell you 14.5 is a very good SEER. Most window units only have an 11.4 SEER. 14.5 is 0.5 more efficient. That is a horrible way of putting it, but it's slightly more efficient than your conventional single stage split system from Goodman Linux. It's a little bit more efficient than a normal central air conditioner, and way more efficient than any window unit out there. High side, this is your refrigerant pressure. The high side, that is whichever coil is supposed to be warm. Right now it's the outside. You have, what does that say, 520 psi. And then low, which is the coil in here, oh, that coil's dirty. I did not mean to show that. But low side is 300 psi. And then the maximum allowable pressure is a staggering 914 psi. This is a ticking time bomb, and with it having R32, it is a flammable ticking time bomb. Whoa. Thanks for that. And then you have R32, which I just explained. that about sums up this unit. Consider buying. I love this unit. I have no complaints with it. A lot of people had complaints with it, but I promise you, they had a bad unit. This unit is phenomenal. It really, really helps anything. It's not loud. It shakes a little bit on startup the first week or two. I had it, but what I did was I took this window and I pushed it down real hard, and I put foam under there. I put foam down there to keep the accordion panels flush so they wouldn't rattle, and I haven't had any problems. So consider buying. Let me know what y'all think about this. I think it is I think it's a phenomenal unit. It is the best unit I've ever had. I know a lot of you like the mechanical stuff, like the older stuff, but I promise you, if Jordan got his hands on this unit and he actually gave it a chance, he might like it. He doesn't like modern units. He doesn't like the noise. This is quieter than most of his vintage units, and I think if he gave it a chance, he would like it. Y'all tag him. Let's get him to watch this video. I want him to see this unit. I want him to give this unit a chance if he has the money. It's not that expensive. If you can blow $400 on a windy unit with an inverter compressor and a heat mode, I think you'll be fine. But Jordan, if you come across this video, I love your content. Nice units, by the way. Give this unit a try or do some research on it. It's not a bad unit. No, this isn't the U-shaped model they recalled, but oh well. And a hint for you, if you do get this unit and try it, instead of drilling a hole in it, there is a little plug that automatically lifts up in heat mode, so condensation from that coil out there doesn't get down there and get splashed up on the coil and turns into an ice maker. See if you can disconnect that, and you'll have a hole. It won't rust because you don't have exposed paint right there, and it doesn't rot the coil. So try that. I drilled a hole there and there because I didn't know that it existed. But like I said, good unit. Jordan, give this a try. Y'all give this a try. Let me know what y'all think, and I will catch y'all in the next one. More videos coming up. I know this was a long video, but there's a lot of stuff going on with this unit, and I have more stuff coming up for it in the fall and winter when we actually get to heating with this thing. I'm thinking about putting a defrost board in it because it doesn't have defrost. I know that's horrible. You have 2 fan motors already, and it's a heat pump. Go ahead and put a defrost function in it, or a defrost board. But I'm going to try that. Y'all give me something to work with here on defrost so I can get ideas. Remember, this is an inverter, so putting defrost on this is going to be extremely hard. But I'll catch y'all in the next one. I appreciate y'all for watching. Try to get Jordan you to watch this. Jordan, if you watch this, I appreciate it. But that's it for this one. Like and subscribe, and see what else goes on with this unit.